You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Mutegi K. Martin.
Welcome back. You're watching KUTV Primetime News, and we're here to talk about career development, as I promised you before the break. And of course, I'm here with a very special lady who is a brand and strategy director at Digital Brands. Her name is Patience Atsango. I don't know, there's a lot of sound, which is actually good. Welcome. Karibu sana today.
Thank you so much.
Yes. We're here to talk about career development. Before that, maybe you can tell us who you are and what you do on that particular camera.
Good evening, everybody that is watching. My name is Patience Rain at Atsango. I work for Digitech Brands Limited under the Department of Brand and Strategy, and we help businesses and individuals to grow their brands for sustainability in the African market.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Now, before we go deep into career development, what can you say branding is in relation to career development? What would you describe branding as in relation to career development?
Right. A brand is basically a representation of yourself outside there. You know, for example, I'll take it for example in business. A good example is Safaricom. Safaricom in itself is a brand. It can be recognized in any country in the world. So that already is a brand, whether there is a representative of Safaricom or not. So when it comes to an individual brand, is what you have represented yourself out there. Right now, if I go online or you go online and search for Patience, you'll be able to identify what I do or who I am based on the particular brand that I've positioned out there. Yeah.
Definitely. And now, before we handle career development to the very last stages, it begins with a single step, just like that journey of 1,000 miles. And as we watch students and maybe other young people who are looking for opportunities in the job market, we see people doing what they call tarmacking each and every day, knocking into offices with their CVs, with their cover letters. Very beautifully done. Sometimes, words that I use are words that you would only find in certain dictionaries, and they think they have really packaged themselves and their CVs and their cover letters very well, and probably at the end of the day they get rejected. How can you help one to package a proper CV that's going to get them hired and a proper thing that's going to explain what is there without exaggerating and of course pushing them to the next step of their life?
Right. Even before going to the CV, you've mentioned that people have beautifully done CVs that probably they would get them to the door. But once you're on the door, maybe you don't get a chance to even move to the next level. When it comes to career development, it doesn't just walk around your papers and documentations. Even yourself as a person, how you've figured yourself, how you've branded yourself, how your personality, the kind of a person you are you easily, pushed to anger? Does being pushed to the corner really scare you out of, your skin? Now, when it comes to CV, it's not just about the beauty. A lot of people get it wrong. It's not about branding, or rather designing a CV, the way you go online and design it in a particular way. A CV basically is a representation of you when you're not there. So you have to really highlight your CV according to exactly what are your skill sets, what are your goals, what do you really want for that particular job. And when it comes to a CV, the reason why you can apply for 1,000 CVs, 1,000 jobs for one CV and you don't get it, because every job has a different requirement. So there has to be a CV for each and every job. So a CV should basically speak to the job description that the job, the employer is seeking for. So every time you're writing a CV, you have to correlate it together with the job description. It's not just about the design. You have to bring out what the employer is looking for.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And as you bring out what the employer is looking for, sometimes people are tempted to Google and write stuff about them. And you, in your field, you're dealing with both the employers and the employees. Do you is there a way that the employers detect that this is a lie in the process of recruitment, in the process of grilling, asking them questions? Can you be detected if you lie? Because most probably people say things that they are not very good at.
Yeah.
They may be right, I'm very good in social skills, I'm very good in sports, and probably that's not the case. Do employers have a way of detecting lies in the CV? And how can
Okay.
we avoid that if that's the
A
case?
lot of times you can get away with that, you know, where you Google what the employee is looking for and put it in your CV. But once you are at the door, what will sustain you for that job? Once you get it, what will sustain you? And that's why personal development is very important. If, for example, you want a job for accounting, there is no way you can lie, you can put the skill set of an accountant that you really don't have. Because once you start doing the job, they realize you don't have the skill set, and 1 month down the line, you'll be out of the job.
Yes.
So as much as you want a particular job, it is important that you build yourself as a brand. You know, be educated, you know, seek education around the career that you want. And that's why it's very, very important. Even if you're employed right now and you see yourself somewhere in the next 10 years, then you need to have a plan whereby you have your career path set. For instance, you can take 10% of your income every single month to get into employment, seek academic employment, seek certifications, get experience around what you want to move towards. The paper can only get you to the door. What's going to sustain you is your brand, is the personality that you have, is the real skill set that you actually possess.
You talked about getting skills from time to time and, you know, getting accreditation from a certain body as you continue to grow. We shall come back to that later. But first of all, before we go to the process where someone has actually acquired that job, in the process of acquiring a job, you know, the world has become a global village and people are seeing each other from all corners. How can one put themselves in a good place where viable people can see them, you know, on online platforms, you know, talk about primarily with LinkedIn, which is linked with professionals.
Right.
And maybe others, maybe like Facebook or Twitter. How can one position themselves online to make sure they get the most out of it?
Well, LinkedIn is actually a blessing for professionals, and LinkedIn has been put there specifically for job seekers, for employers who are looking for employees, and also for professional consultants who want to interact with people in their fields. So putting yourself out there intentionally, by intentionally I mean, you know, exposing yourself, you know, putting yourself out there at all. Don't hold back the experiences you have, the skills that you possess. And also LinkedIn is something that it's like your online CV. So you want to put your academics, you want to put your experiences, and every other time you want to write content around what you are good at, because there are people watching, there are people reading your articles. So you have to use it in order to improve your career and not to destroy it. And I'll talk about online as a whole, even Facebook, even YouTube. You know, these things never forget. They always say online doesn't forget.
Yes.
So again, your brand you should be very keen on your brand. What you write there, before you even write, stop, analyze it before even writing, because end of the day, it will always come back to your brand.
Definitely. We
Yeah.
saw an unfortunate situation last year where someone was given a job, but, you know, Kenyans have a way of, you know, going back to the internet that doesn't forget. And, of course, that costed them a new appointment in a very high office. I'm glad you're speaking about that because it's something that really affects what we are going through. Now, let's go to the particular place where now this person gets the job and they are introduced in a whole new environment. It's a new work environment, something they have not been used to, and every new place has its own challenges. And of course, I want you to address that and how one can make sure they don't get fired as soon as they are hired. And of course, you know, as one continues to familiarize with the workplace, to make sure that they avoid the wrong company in the workplace, to avoid work politics that might cost them their job and their development in their careers. Kindly address that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that where you get a job, a few months, you're out because maybe you're found gossiping or you said things you're not supposed to say. So I think before you even get into career, you know, that's why in the university they teach about communication one-on-one. It's very important to have people skills. And that's why I said your CV can only get you to the door. Your personality, you know, personality trickles down even to who you are as a person, your character. So you have to be a person of integrity, you know, a person of honesty. And even at the employment level, where you're interacting with different colleagues, people are different. Before you start saying things, and you need to analyze and know the kind of people that you're interacting. A lot of times focus on your work, but then again, I can't say you can't make friends in the workplace, because a lot of my friends to date are people that I met when I was working. You know, you need to know where to stop and where to start. So learning people and learning when to communicate and what to say is very, very important.
Thank you for that. And as they continue to familiarize themselves in that particular place, you realize that some of them, you know, there are skills that you haven't acquired. You know, we get and acquire skills as we go by, just as you said earlier. And how can we best position ourselves in a new workplace to get all the relevant skills? And also, when you, as you answer that, kindly also address the fact that sometimes when we get to the workplace, you find people who are not actually fit for that particular job, and they end up losing their job. Do they deserve losing their job, or can they acquire skills quickly in that new environment and grasp you know, what's happening and go with it? Because we have seen a number of people, they go into a job and then the employer realizes this guy doesn't know anything about this job, and then they get fired. So kindly demystify that and help us understand if there is hope in that kind of situation.
Well, for starters, we're in the age of digital transformation, and a lot is changing, especially in the career and different careers. A lot of people are losing their jobs because they are becoming irrelevant because of where technology is moving towards, you know, where the world is moving towards. So even though you have been employed before, let's say 10 years ago or 5 years ago, you need to be really keen on where your career is headed, you know, where that particular station you're in is moving towards. For example, is it acquiring digital transformation, or is it slagging behind? What is this that you can change? So like I'd said, you have to be somebody who keeps improving yourself every other day by educating yourself, by seeking knowledge around your space or spectrum. Then the other thing, sometimes you can get employed where you don't have the experience. You know, we have seen people working in banks who have never done finance and banking and all that. When you see such kind of people, maybe they got there through their personality, they have a good personality, they approached the right people and all that. But then once there, because this is something they have found themselves in, then they have to grow themselves. Otherwise, they are going to be kicked out by the situations, because the business has to grow. You know, you are selling your services. So if you can't sell your service to the business, then there's no point of the business keeping you. So you have to keep improving yourself if you want to grow, you know. And anybody that keeps improving themselves has chances of growth. Let me give you a good example. During this period of Corona, a lot of people were laid off. But then again, in the same situation, a lot of people were rehired or were maintained. So you need to grow to your career in a level that you are irreplaceable. You know, the business cannot do without you. You are always at the top. You're always making the right decision for the company. If it's strategy, you're at the forefront, you know. You have to be irreplaceable. And that starts by, one, improving yourself every day and be the best at your job.
Definitely.
And that's where we move towards, or we call it personal development. Yeah.
Amazing. Other people I would be very concerned when it comes to personal development are the people that have the jobs that are not the cliche kind of jobs we're talking about right now. And this actually touches on them. In my thinking, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, you know, people like sportsmen, people like, you know, artists, you know, musicians, painters, poets, they need to brand themselves. They need to grow in their careers, right? Can you kindly touch on this special lot of people and, you know, guide them on how they can actually go improving their careers? And first of all, getting proper branding, because I think a number of artists we have, they don't have proper branding. And so the process of growth is not very, you know, gradual, if I may say, yes.
So, personal branding is not just a simple thing, you know. By just looking at where you want and where you want to get at, you need to build a brand around that. You might be asking, so how do I start by building my brand? For example, you've talked about footballers, musicians, and all this. What you do is utilize the power of online, utilize the power of media, create content that is amazing, content that people want to see. For example, if you put a photo online, one photo might get 100 likes or 100 comments and another one 0. So it depends with what have you done, what kind of a photo have you taken. Is it done by a professional or just done wayward? So again, personal branding, it is costly. It's not cheap, because you have to use the right equipment, you have to use, the right content. And again, whatever you possess is what you want people to see. So ensure that people can see what you do by continually putting content around what you do. I'll give you a good example about guys that have blogs of cooking and all that. These guys have to continuously cook.
Yes.
Even if they don't have ingredients, they have to borrow the ingredients and cook. Because for you to build a brand around that, people have to continuously see you. So continuously putting yourself online is building your brand around those particular areas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And talk about the talents now in the workplace. A lot of, it reminds me of days back in, high schools, where you'd find people who had special talents would get favors in those particular spheres. Sometimes someone has not paid fee, but because they're very good in football, they end up, being taken care. That is taken care of. Can we find this? Is this in the workplace? Now that you are in connection with the workplace, is this found in the workplace? And how can people who have special talents bring themselves out in the workplace without looking like they are forcing it too much, and of course wanting to make the company better through their talents?
Again, the Bible says your talents will set you before kings. So putting your talents under the table is not really helping your career. We've seen in the past, anybody that were intentional about putting themselves out, they didn't care about what people were going to say. They just pushed themselves and they put it. Other people started with poor content. You can see in Kenya, a lot of people are celebs, started with content, but people are like, is this really good content? But then with time, you realize these people developed into brands that even corporates seek. So what I would encourage people is that if you know you're good at something, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because that is the light that will actually build your career and probably push you to where you want to be. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, as we go on, people have stayed in companies, people have gotten jobs, people are enjoying in the workplace. A lot has been said by public speakers and all, where they say, in this particular job, don't stay for more than 5 years, don't stay for more than 10 years. The big question here and right now is, how long should one stay in a company?
Well, it's not about how long. It's basically about your plan. At Digitech Brands, we normally offer a course called career development. And career development helps you to plan your career in stages. So you as a person, where you want to be will determine how many years you want to be in the career you want to be, because people have different goals. People have different aspirations and purposes. Other people want to be employed forever, while others want to start their own companies, Based on what you want for yourself, then I feel you need to plan your career in a way that it directs you to where you want to go. Yeah.
Definitely. And as you go into your career, as you get that trajectory into your career, and as you rise through the ranks, a lot has been said about rising through the ranks and becoming this, after this becoming that. As you talk about the steps of growth in the career, tell us about mentors. Talk to us about mentors and what is their role in making sure that you go up the ladder, and how does one get a mentor that is meant for them?
Okay, first and foremost, mentors don't have responsibility over you. It's up to you to really pursue a mentor that you seek. And a lot of times I've seen from young people is that they'll come to you and be like, hey, Patience, I want you to mentor me. And I'm like, where do I begin mentoring you? I think as a mentee or somebody who wants to be mentored, you have to have like a career goal. You know, if you want to be a digital marketer or you want to maybe move up your career ladder at a certain pace, you need to approach a mentor with a goal. You know, a mentor is not supposed to hold your hand forever. You know, once they're done with their work, they need to pick somebody else and mentor. So even as you're approaching a mentor, you as a person, you need to have a goal. It's you to pursue the mentor. It's you to seek the knowledge that you seek so that it can help you to the level that you want to become. Yeah.
Definitely. And as they look for you now that you're a mentor, kindly, I want you to go back to your camera, tell people where they can find you.
Yes.
As a mentor and any other help they would need in terms of their brand strategy. And talk to them, tell them where they can find you, then we'll wind up this conversation.
Okay, so basically I help people in building their personal brands and their business brands. So if you want to reach us, you can reach us at digitechbrands.com or send us an email at hello@digitechbrands.com. And we have a couple of classes. In fact, we have a class coming on I think it's on the 6th of February on personal branding. You can go to our website and apply for that class, and I hope it will help you. During the class, you're going to train people on career development and also on LinkedIn, how you can utilize your LinkedIn to grow your business and your career.
Amazing.
Yeah.
One last word, punchline of sorts that you'd want people to go home with tonight.
Your brand is the most important thing in your life. So make your brand intentional.
Wow, that's great. Patience Atsango, Brand and Strategy Director at Digitech Brands, speaking to us today about career development. Thank you so much for coming through tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
We really appreciate your coming.
Thank you
So much.